Ever looked up at a rocket launch and thought, how do they even make those things? Well, today's deep dive is right up your alley. We're heading behind the scenes in the world of aerospace to see what it takes to be an aerospace engineering technician. It's a job that changes every day, and you're working with technology that's, well, straight out of the future.
Exactly.
So to help us out, we've got some awesome excerpts from RoleCatcher's career guides. Plus, we'll dive into their platform and how it can give you a leg up, because this is a competitive field.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to figure out what it really takes to keep planes in the air and spacecraft on course.
Let's do it.
All right, so what does an aerospace engineering technician actually do? You might think wrenches and grease, and yeah, there's some of that. But the career guide, it shows a very high-tech side to it. Imagine, you're the team that has to make 100% sure a new landing gear can take the force of touchdown.
And it's not just about the physical parts. Think of all that software controlling the hydraulics, the sensors that are checking the stress, the flight control systems. All of that has to work together perfectly. And that's where you come in. You're running diagnostics, analyzing all the data, troubleshooting, making sure those systems are perfect before that plane ever even moves.
And it's not just planes, right? We're talking spacecraft, satellites, even drones.
Exactly, which is why you need such a range of skills. The career guide really stresses that point. It's not just knowing a blueprint anymore. You have to be good with software, whether you're working on a new engine or a state-of-the-art drone.
That makes sense, but you don't always hear that. Everyone talks about being mechanically skilled, which is still important.
Absolutely. In fact, the career guide states that 88% of the skills they list fall under the mechanical category. You've got to have that solid base to understand how things work, how to take them apart, and importantly, put them back together.
Okay, 88% mechanical, so what about the other 12%? What else are they looking for?
That other 12%, that's where this field is really changing. The career guide actually calls engineering and technology skills critical, about 73% of the total skill set.
Wow, that's huge. So it's not just knowing how things work, but the theory behind the technology too.
Exactly. And not just textbook stuff either. Imagine trying to figure out what's wrong with a really complex system.
Oh, man.
You need that analytical mind to look at the data, see the problems, and then come up with solutions, creative solutions. That's where critical thinking comes in, which the guide mentions too.
So you're saying to be great in this field, you need hands-on mechanical skills plus deep engineering knowledge, and you got to be a sharp critical thinker. That's a lot.
It is. And we haven't even talked about how important communication is.
Right. The career guide mentioned that too. Seems odd though, right? You picture engineers, technicians, heads down in their work, not really chatting away.
Yeah, it's a common thought, but it's so not true. Good communication is key here. Think about it. Complex projects, big teams. You got to explain your ideas clearly, listen to what others think, and work together to solve problems.
So not enough to just be good at the technical stuff. You got to be a team player and a clear communicator.
You got it. And sometimes you're even talking to people outside your team, like clients. You might have to explain this really technical thing so that someone who's not an engineer can understand.
That takes real skill.
It does. And that brings up something else from the knowledge and learning section of the guide. You have to keep learning, always.
Ah, yes. Never stop learning, especially in aerospace where things are changing so fast.
Exactly. What you learn in school or when you're just starting out, that's the base. To really stay ahead, you got to keep learning new skills, new tech, and just be ready for anything.
So how do you do that? Night classes, online courses, conferences.
All of those and more. You have to be the one looking for ways to learn more. Go to workshops, read what's new in the industry, even just spend time with people who are more experienced.
It's like that saying, you got to spend money to make money. Except here, it's more like you got to keep learning to work in aerospace.
Right.
But let's be real, before you can be building rockets, you've got to land the job. And these days, that means figuring out how to stand out, not just to the hiring manager, but to those computer programs everyone's talking about.
Yeah, algorithms. And that's where these RoleCatcher guides have some really great advice. It's not just about being qualified, it's about showing it in a way that gets noticed.
It's like that saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Except here, it's like the perfect resume gets past the robots. So how do you do that? How do you make sure your application isn't just another one in the pile?
The Beat the Automated Recruiter section, one of these articles, it really lays it out. You have to understand how those systems work, the applicant tracking systems. They look for keywords, the right skills, the exact experience. RoleCatcher has a tool. It analyzes those job descriptions and tells you what to put on your resume.
So it's not just listing everything you've ever done. It's tailoring it to each job.
Yeah.
Almost like you're speaking the robot's language.
Exactly. Make it easy for the ATS to see you're a perfect fit. But here's the thing. RoleCatcher doesn't just get you past the box. It actually helps real people find you too.
Okay, that's interesting. How so?
So their platform, you create this profile. It showcases everything you can do, your experience, but in a way that employers can easily find, like a professional networking site, but just for aerospace.
Now that is smart. So instead of hoping your resume ends up on the right desk, you're putting yourself out there, making it easy for companies. You're like, there you are.
Right, and that's huge in this field. But getting the job is just the start. What about growing your career? Where can you go from being an aerospace engineering technician?
The career guide, and it talks about some cool possibilities. Say you love avionics, the brains of the aircraft. You could become the expert in that, working on the most advanced systems out there.
Or maybe your thing is propulsion. Imagine being on the team that makes the next generation of, like, ion thrusters, the ones that'll take us to deep space.
See, that's what's so great about aerospace, always pushing the limits. But it's not just about the tech stuff. The career guide also talks about becoming a manager. Use your experience, your leadership, to run teams and big projects.
And don't forget about more education. Once you've been in the field a while, maybe you go back, get that engineering degree, and go from technician to full-on engineer.
So many options. It
Cool.
seems like the key is to stay curious, don't shy away from challenges, and always keep learning.
You got it. And don't forget networking. The guide mentions how important that is. Joining those professional groups, going to events, really building relationships in the industry.
It's all about those connections, right? Learning from each other, staying ahead of the game. Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the world of aerospace engineering technicians. From the technical skills you need and how this job's changing, to being a good communicator and always learning, and even how tools like RoleCatcher can give you an edge.
It's a career that's challenging, for sure, but the possibilities are endless. Who knows, maybe you'll be designing the next spaceship or the tech that takes us to Mars.
Now that's something to think about. If any of this sparked your interest, check out the links we've got for those RoleCatcher resources. Because in aerospace, the sky is not the limit.